everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive with us. Today, we're going to be looking at Genesis 10. Genesis 10,
Right.
which is often called the Table of Nations. Now, I know
Yeah.
when people hear genealogy, they think, oh boy, this is going to be a lot of names and a lot of begats, and it's going to be really dry.
Right. It's a common misconception because this chapter is anything but boring. It's really like a treasure map pointing us to the origins of all these different people groups and how they spread out across the world after the flood.
Okay, yeah, I'm intrigued already. So we're talking about Noah's descendants, right?
Yeah.
Shem, Ham,
Yeah.
and Japheth.
Yeah.
How do their stories fit into this treasure map, so to speak?
Well, Genesis 10 really meticulously traces their lineage, and it starts with Japheth. And his descendants mainly settled around the Mediterranean Sea and parts of Europe,
Okay.
kind of the ancient world's melting pot.
So we're not just talking about names on a page. We're talking about real people who formed. You know the bedrock of civilizations as we know them. Are there any names that jump out at you in Japheth's line?
Absolutely. You've got Gomer, who some scholars connect to the Sumerians, nomadic people known for their horseback riding skills. And then you've got Magog, who's often associated with the fierce Scythians, a group known for their military strength.
Wow, so we're seeing, the roots of these different cultures even way back then. It's fascinating how these ancient groups played a role in shaping history. What else can you tell us about Japheth's descendants?
Well, the chapter highlights that they spread out, each with its own language, revealing a remarkable diversity even in those early days. Imagine the range of languages and dialects emerging as these groups migrated and interacted with each other.
It really makes you wonder about the evolution of language and how that played a role in forming the distinct cultural identities that we see develop over time.
Precisely. Now let's shift our focus from that bustling Mediterranean region and travel south to explore Ham's line.
Okay, what's interesting about Ham's descendants, where did they primarily settle?
So Ham's family tree is mainly associated with Africa and parts of the Middle East. It's a region that's so rich in history and cultural influence. And we see names like Cush, often linked to the ancient Nubian civilization known for its wealth and its resources. And of course there's Egypt, a civilization that needs no introduction.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing to think that these names that we're reading in Genesis connect to these powerful empires and cultural centers that we learned about, in history books. What other significant figures pop up in Ham's line?
Well, there's one figure in particular that really stands out, and that's Nimrod. Now he's described as a mighty hunter before the Lord, which has sparked a lot of debate among scholars.
Hold on, mighty hunter. What does that even mean? Was he just really good at tracking down prey?
Well, some interpretations focus on his prowess as a hunter, but others suggest it points to something a little bit more. Some see it as a reference to his skill as a warrior, a powerful leader who established dominance through conquest.
So we're talking about a figure who potentially wielded, significant power and influence, not just in hunting, but in shaping early kingdoms. It's getting interesting. What else do we know about Nimrod?
Well, Genesis tells us that he established a kingdom, building cities like Babel, Uruk, Akkad, and Calneh in Shinar, which we know today as ancient Mesopotamia.
Wait, Babel? As in the Tower of Babel? The story about humanity's ambition and the scattering of languages.
That's the one. It's incredible to see those connections emerging from this chapter. It paints such a vivid picture of the ancient world and the figures who shaped it.
This is blowing my mind. I mean, we're going from this seemingly simple list of names to uncovering the foundations of entire civilizations. What else did Nimrod accomplish?
Well, his ambition didn't stop there. He went on to expand his influence into Assyria, building cities like Nineveh, Rehoboth, Irkalla, and Resen. These cities would later become major power centers in the ancient Near East.
Nineveh, wasn't that the Assyrian capital? The city known for its grandeur, but also for its eventual downfall, due to wickedness and rebellion against God.
Yes, that's right. And it's remarkable to think that its origins are traced back to this figure Nimrod, whose story is interwoven with both ambition and the consequences of straying from God's path. It's a reminder that even powerful individuals and nations are ultimately accountable to a higher power.
This is incredible. So we've traced the lines of Japheth and Ham and their descendants spread out across these vast regions, shaping distinct cultures and leaving their mark on history. But there's still one more branch of this family tree to explore. Shem's line, which leads to the Hebrew people, right?
You got it. And that's where we'll pick up after a quick break. Stay tuned, folks, because the story gets even more captivating as we delve into the lineage of Shem.
We are back and ready to dive back into this incredible genealogical journey. So now we're turning our attention to Shem's line, the lineage that leads to the Hebrew people. And this is where things get really personal for those of us who follow the Judeo-Christian tradition.
It really is amazing how this chapter connects us to the very roots of our faith. Genesis 10 meticulously outlines Shem's descendants, revealing a lineage that would ultimately lead to Abraham, the father of the Jewish nation.
That's right. So who are some of the key figures that we should be paying attention to in Shem's line? Any names that might ring a bell?
Well, we start with Elam, who's associated with the ancient Elamite civilization in what is now southwest Iran. Then we come to Ashur, linked to Assyria, a powerful empire that we already encountered through Nimrod.
That's right. And it's a reminder that these family lines aren't isolated. They intersect and intertwine, shaping the course of history in these fascinating ways. So what else can you tell us about the names in Shem's lineage?
Well, we have Arphaxad, a key figure in the line leading to Abraham. And his descendant Eber is particularly significant because his name is thought to be the root of the term Hebrew.
Wow, I never knew that. So the term Hebrew, which has, such rich history and religious significance, can be traced back to this one individual named Eber. That's incredible. It's like holding a piece of history in your hands.
Exactly, and it shows how much meaning is packed into these seemingly simple names. Each one represents a story, a connection to the past that shapes our understanding of the present. What other names in Shem's lines stand out to you?
Well, I see Lud, which I remember being connected to Lydia in western Anatolia, and Aram, which brings to mind the Arameans, known for their widespread language and influence in the ancient Near East.
You're right, those names are like signposts pointing us to regions and cultures that played significant roles in the ancient world. And there's one more figure in Shem's line I'd like to highlight: Peleg.
Okay, what's special about Peleg?
Well, Genesis 10.25 mentions that in his time the earth was divided. Now, this verse has intrigued scholars for centuries and has led to various interpretations.
Oh, that sounds like a mystery waiting to be unraveled.
Yeah.
So what are some of the possible explanations for the earth being divided in Peleg's time?
Well, some scholars believe it refers to the Tower of Babel event, which we read about in Genesis 11. This event resulted in the scattering of people and the confusion of languages, leading to a division of humanity.
That makes sense. The Tower of Babel story certainly describes a major division and dispersion of humanity, both geographically and linguistically. What other explanations are there?
Right, others suggest it might refer to a more general dispersal of people groups, perhaps due to migration, exploration, or even continental drift, which, while we understand it scientifically today, would have been a mysterious phenomenon in ancient times.
Continental drift. Now that's a thought-provoking idea. To think that the division mentioned in Peleg's time could relate to the very continents shifting and separating. It's mind-blowing. It adds another layer of depth to this genealogical account.
It certainly does, and that's what makes this chapter so fascinating. It's concise, but it sparks so many questions and opens up avenues for further exploration. It invites us to delve deeper into history, archaeology, linguistics, and even geology to uncover the interconnectedness of it all.
Yeah, it's like a springboard for understanding the interconnectedness of human history, culture, and even the physical world.
Precisely. And it underscores the idea that even a seemingly simple list of names can hold profound insights into our shared past and our place in the grand tapestry of humanity.
I'm amazed by how much we've uncovered just from this one chapter. It's like a treasure trove of historical and cultural clues. So as we kind of start wrapping up our deep dive into Genesis 10, what's your biggest takeaway so far?
For me, the key takeaway is the reminder that despite our differences, in language, culture, location, we all share a common ancestry. We're all part of the human family descended from Noah and his sons who repopulated the earth after the flood.
That's a beautiful and timely message, especially in a world that often feels so divided.
Indeed. Genesis 10 challenges us to look beyond our superficial differences and recognize our shared roots, our interconnectedness as members of the human race. And it reminds us that despite our tendencies towards division, there's a fundamental unity that binds us together.
That's powerful. So much to ponder. And there's still more to unpack as we wrap up our deep dive into Genesis 10.
Radio WBCM.
Welcome back, everyone. We're about to wrap up our deep dive into Genesis 10, the Table of Nations. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of feeling a sense of awe right now at how this seemingly simple list of names has opened up like a window into the origins of civilizations and the spread of humanity across the earth.
It's really remarkable. It's a testament to the power of storytelling and how even ancient genealogies can connect us to the past and illuminate the present. They remind us that we're part of something so much larger than ourselves, a story that spans generations and continents.
Yeah, it's humbling to think that our lives are kind of woven into this grand tapestry of human history, stretching all the way back to Noah and his sons. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from Genesis 10?
If I had to choose just one, it would be the recognition of our shared human heritage. Genesis 10 paints this picture of a world where different people groups, languages, cultures all emerged from a common source. And it's a powerful reminder of our interconnectedness, a truth that's just as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago.
I love that. It's so easy to get caught up in our differences these days.
Yeah.
But this chapter reminds us that we're all part of one big, messy, beautiful human family. We might speak different languages, have different customs, live in different parts of the world, but ultimately we're all connected.
Exactly. And recognizing that shared heritage can foster empathy and understanding and a sense of responsibility for one another. It's a foundation for building bridges rather than walls. Instead of focusing on what divides us, we can choose to celebrate the diversity that enriches our world.
And it's also a reminder that diversity is a strength, not a weakness. I mean, just think of the incredible tapestry of cultures, languages, and traditions that we have today. It all stems from those early branches of the human family tree outlined in Genesis 10. It's a testament to human creativity and adaptability.
Absolutely. And that diversity is something to be celebrated, not feared. It enriches our world in countless ways. Imagine a world where everyone looked the same, spoke the same language, and thought the same way. It would be pretty dull, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think we can all agree that the world is a much more vibrant and interesting place because of our differences. So what would you say to someone who might dismiss Genesis 10 as just an old list of names, nothing more?
I would encourage them to look closer, to see the stories hidden within those names. Each name represents a people group, a culture, a migration, a piece of human history. And when we connect those pieces, we begin to see the grand narrative of humanity unfolding, with all its complexities and wonders.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle waiting to be assembled. And the more pieces we find, the more we understand the bigger picture. And the exciting thing is there are always more pieces to discover.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that there's always more to discover. Genesis 10 is just the starting point. It invites us to explore further, to delve into history, archaeology, linguistics, other fields, to learn more about the people and places mentioned in this chapter.
That's what I love about our deep dives. They spark curiosity and send us off on our own intellectual adventures. So for all our listeners out there, here's a challenge. Pick a name from Genesis 10 that piques your interest and do some digging. See what you can learn about that person or group and their place in history. You might be surprised at what you find.
Absolutely. Let this chapter be a springboard for your own explorations. And remember, the more we understand our past, the better equipped we are to navigate the present and build a brighter future.
That's a great point. Well, thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through Genesis 10. We hope you've gained a newfound appreciation for this often overlooked chapter and the profound truths it reveals about our shared human heritage.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all our listeners, thanks for tuning in to Bible Talks on WBCM Radio. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode. You can share your discoveries, your insights, any questions you might have down in the comments section. And remember, we're here to learn and grow together.
That's right. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep discovering the richness of God's Word.
And that's a wrap on this deep dive into Genesis 10. Until next time, stay curious and keep seeking truth. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We're on YouTube at www.youtube.com at Radio WBCM. And we also do Christian music reviews there. So if you want to discover some new Christian music, be sure to check us out. See ya.